Hey, eighth grade, it's McLean here, and this is your first flipped lesson for grammar. We're going to be looking at kinds of sentences for Unit 1, Lesson 1. Now, before we get started, you are going to want to make sure that you have a loose leaf notebook paper and a pen or pencil, whatever you need to be able to take your notes with, because we're looking at a few things here. Obviously, welcome to your first flip grammar lesson. I know this is going to be different for you, but I think along the way we're really going to enjoy it. A couple of pointers you may wish to follow from this lesson throughout the rest of the school year are, although we have access, or you're going to have access to these slides at all times at home, you will want to take notes on each slide as you need to. You never know when I'm going to say that you can use your notes on a test. So it's better to actually take your notes during your lesson and have them in class than not have them. And then you are required to complete the guided practice and independent practice during each lesson. That is what we will go over in class the next day. And then you'll also have some other kind of activity to go along with it during your independent work time. All right, let's get started on our first lesson. We're looking at kinds of sentences, and there are 4 kinds of sentences that we use each and every day. They are declarative, imperative, interrogative, and exclamatory. Most of what we use on a daily basis are going to be declaratives. Declaratives simply make a statement. Imperative sentences, however, give commands, where interrogatives ask questions, and exclamatory shows some kind of strong emotion. And each different type of sentence ends with a certain kind of punctuation, and we'll go over that through this lesson. Also, you can pause at any time along the way. If I'm moving too fast, if you want to stop, take notes, just hit your pause button, jot down what you want, and then hit play to continue. A declarative sentence makes a statement and ends with a period. Take a look at this one, for example. Music can be enjoyable. I'm simply making a statement. There's no strong emotion there. I'm not asking a question. So declarative ends with a period. An imperative sentence gives a command or makes a request. It also has this little thing called an implied you, where you is the subject of the sentence, even though we don't really say it. So here's an example. Please stop singing that song. I'm giving a command. Who am I giving that command to? I'm giving that command to you, or whomever I'm talking to. An interrogative sentence asks a question and always, always, always ends in a question mark. Here's an example. Isn't Benjamin an excellent singer? The 4th kind is an exclamatory sentence. And exclamatory sentences express emotion and ends with an exclamation mark. For example, what a great concert that was. There's more emotion behind it. I want my reader to be able to feel that emotion, so I'm going to write that as an exclamatory with an exclamation point at the end. All right, let's do a little guided practice. Now, I want you to get ready to write some sentences and see if you can identify the type and the kind of punctuation that's needed. You're going to want to pause along the way. I'm going to do my best to remind you, hey, pause here, so that way you have time to write. For this part of the activity, I want you to create a triple T chart. Now, I want it to look something like this. You want to make sure, though, that the far left part of your chart, that you give yourself way more space than you do for the middle section or the far right section. The far left, you're going to label as sentence. That's where you're actually going to write the sentence I'm going to give you. And then the middle column will be type of sentence. And then the last column to the far right will be titled punctuation. You might want to pause here, give yourself a few minutes to write down your T-chart. You're going to have 5 guided practice questions here or sentences. So that'll tell you about how much space you're going to need. Go ahead and hit pause and get ready to write. All right, so it looks like we're ready to move on. Number 1, please pay attention. You might want to pause here so you can write down your sentence. Now, for the middle column, you're answering the question really, what type of sentence is this? You might want to pause here so you can write down your answer. Okay, please pay attention. Please pay attention. This is an imperative sentence. I'm giving a command. Sorry, guys, still sick. What kind of punctuation is needed for an imperative sentence? Imperative sentences require a period at the end. All right, let's take a look at another one. Number 2 says, why are you making that face? Take a moment, pause, write down your sentence. All right, so we're looking at why are you making a face? What kind of sentence is that? It's an interrogative. So what kind of punctuation should you use with an interrogative sentence? It's a question, so you need a question mark. Okay, let's see if we can look at another one here. All right, our third example says, how wonderful this performance is. Go ahead and hit pause. Take a moment to write down that sentence. Now, what kind of sentence is it? This is exclamatory. So what kind of punctuation do you need? You need an exclamation mark or an exclamation point. Okay, number 4 says, don't applaud yet. What type of sentence is this? All right, so don't applaud yet. What kind of sentence is this? It's giving a command. Therefore, it is imperative. How do you punctuate an imperative sentence? It is punctuated with a period. One more to go on our guided practice. Let's look at number 5. Okay, number 5 says, dramas can be exciting and entertaining. Take a moment, pause, get this written down. What kind of sentence or what type of sentence is this? It's a declarative. How do we punctuate declarative sentences? Quite simply, we punctuate them with a period. right, so just curious, how did you do on this guided practice? Did you do okay? Remember that you can always go back and look at your notes. This should be review information for you, but even if it's not, you have the power of the pause button. You can pause anytime you need to, so that way you can make sure that you're getting things correct. All right, we're going to take a little bit of time here just to quickly sum things up. We have 4 kinds of sentences that we've looked at. A declarative sentence makes a statement and ends with a period. An imperative sentence gives a command and ends with a period. An interrogative sentence asks a question and ends with a question mark. And then an exclamatory sentence shows strong emotion and ends with an exclamation mark. If you can, I don't know, a little trick that I use, especially with imperative, because a lot of times people will get imperative and interrogative mixed up. I always say to myself, interrogative is like interrogate. So what does the detective do? They're going to interrogate you. They're going to ask you questions. That's how I keep it separate in my mind. All right, let's take a look at your independent work. All right, so for your independent practice today, I'm going to have you write each sentence. You're going to add the correct punctuation mark. Then, once you've written it and put in the correct punctuation, you're going to tell what kind of sentence it is. There are 10 independent practice. I just want you to try them. This is your last slide, so it would probably do you well that once I get done talking at you, that you hit the pause button so you can write down your sentences and see if you can do this. And then we'll go over this in class tomorrow. Okay, here's your 10. Best of luck, and I will see you tomorrow.